today. It's a lovely sunny day outside. Would you like me to wheel you out onto the grounds of the hospital for some fresh air? Maybe tomorrow, Lieutenant Thompson. Maybe tomorrow. Drew, your mother and your sister will be coming by again soon. Those lovely ladies come every day to see you, Drew, although you don't seem to take any pleasure in seeing them. Well, for now you just rest. I know. You've been through some terrible times. Some folks say that Passchendaele was the worst of them all. But you just remember your happy times at home, and that'll have you right as rain in no time at all. You just rest now, sir.
The wire! The barbed wire! We must finish the fence! On your belly, Nan! Do you want to get shot? Oh! The noise! The noise!
Lieutenant Thompson, Drew! Wake up, wake up! You're having another war nightmare. You're safe here with me. Now that's better. That's better, my dear soldier. Now tell me another story about your childhood. Tell me again about Ruthven.
Here's where we make our stand. We are Brock's Rangers. Scatter, you Yankee scalawags! You'll never take Lundy's Lane.
Drew, don't call me that. Mother says that I may be called Margaret, or Gretchen, or Peggy, but do not call me Pug. That's not a name for a little girl. That's a name for a dog. Isn't that right, Fluffy?
You know she's right, Drew. Now, tell us a rhyme to make up for your rudeness, huh?
Here's one I've been working on. Long, long ago, in days of old, a race of cavemen, as we're told, lived on old England's Isle, while Pharaoh still ruled o'er the Nile.
Oh, good one, Drew. Father will love it. Remember it and tell him tonight when he's back from Ottawa.
Let me try one, Wowie. Ruthven House is the best.
Hey, Gretchen. Peggy. Run up to the house and get us some cookies and apples from Betsy. Huh?
Ruthven House is the best, even when Wowie is a pest.
You know, it's so beautiful and green here, especially with the river flowing by. You know, Wally, I shall always treasure the memories of our carefree summer spent here at Ruthven.
You know, Father told me that if Mother gives him a good report of our conduct here, he might let us have a look at his collection again. The sword from 1812.
The suit of armor. The stuffed birds.
The stuffed bear!
Can you imagine that our great-great-grandfather fought with the Indians against the Americans in the uprising? Oh, and then again, our great-grandfather fought alongside the Iroquois in 1814 at Lundy's Lane.
And when our father was being born, his father fought against the Fenian uprising. I wonder if anything exciting like this will ever happen to us. Shh! I hear someone approaching.
sneak up on you two.
Skino Joseph, what did you trap today?
Oh, while you are lying in the sun, I have been too busy paddling on the Grand River to check my traps. But my father and I bought something delicious for your supper tonight. Is your own great father home from his wide travels? My father wishes to speak with the Saragawa about the fall corn harvest.
Who?
The Saragawa. Don't you even know your own father's honorary Six Nations name?
Well, our Papa will finally be back from his important job in the government in Ottawa, and we have so many stories to tell him about Ruthven that your father will just have to wait his turn. Oh, Drew, my sword! My sword! Oh.
Hey! Hey!
Oh, ouch, Drew, come on, help!
I'm
Come
bigger
on,
than you.
come on, ouch!
Hey, we are Brock's Rangers. We are Brock's Rangers.
The bravest in the land. We fight the foes of England. We always lend a hand. Nay, all my brothers, and thank you. Tell your father that my father bids him greeting and welcome home from the people of the Great Swamp.
Hey, Wally, let's go eat those cookies that Betsy made for us.
Oh, yes!
Good morning, Drew. It's your own dear sister Peggy come to visit you. Won't you even say good morning? Oh, my dear brother. I'll let you call me Pug if it makes you feel any better. Are you Lydia? Are you his nurse?
Yes, I am. And you have to be patient.
By 1916, the Great War had already raged for over 2 years in Europe, pitting our allies, Great Britain, France, and Russia, against Germany, Austro-Hungary, and Turkey. We had heard stories about the Great War, and we had made sacrifices for the war effort. Canadians were constantly encouraged to enlist, and many who did thought that a trip to England would be a treat, and that the war would be easily won. They were in for a rude awakening. It seems like only yesterday that our dear father, Lieutenant Colonel Andrew Thorburn Thompson, was appointed commander of the 114th Battalion, in charge of recruitment. At last, in charge of my own battalion, the 114th Infantry of Cayuga. And in the fine tradition of my grandfather and great-grandfather, who were always ready to serve whenever the militia was reformed, I'll stand beside my fellow man and defend this land from peril. Even if that peril be across the sea. My recruitment drive has been most successful. It's a testament to the heritage of this fine family. Although buying uniforms for all the men of the family has been rather costly.
Father, our uniforms have finally arrived. And how reassuring for Walter and I to know that you'll be coming with us as our commanding officer.
Oh, my son Drew, you've grown into a fine young man. I know that you and Walter will both make me very proud. You'll both make wonderful officers.
Joseph joined up too. He's in one of the Indian units. He says you were quite persuasive in convincing the Six Nations to come along with us. 2 out of the 4 units are entirely Indian, mostly from the Six Nations. Is it true, Father, that you promised the mothers that you would look after each recruit personally?
And by golly, I will.
And what an adventure we'll have! First, training in Camp Borden, then a train trip across Canada to Halifax, where we set sail for England. Oh, Father, it'll be so grand. We'll see London and Paris and maybe even Berlin.
Now, my son, it won't be all pretty foreign girls and exotic ports of call. There's a lot of hard work in a soldier's life, marching and cleaning your weapon. And you'll have the Hun to worry about over there. He's not ready to give up just yet.
I'll do my duty, sir. You'll see. I'm a lieutenant, and so is Walter. I could become a major if I show my bravery.
I'm sure you will. And look at this. Here's your brother Walter, another fine young officer.
Have you heard? They're calling our battalion Bronx Rangers. I hope we make you proud, Father. I know that many men of this family have proudly served as Bronx Rangers, and Drew and I mean to do the same.
God bless the king, God bless the queen, for what they are and what they mean. Long may they rule and ever be the symbol of democracy. Oh, I just remembered I have to go to Cayuga to meet up with Joseph. Come on, Walter, let's see how great he looks in his uniform.
Oh, I'm sure he looks splendid.
Oh, so much to do. So much to do.
So, it's done then. All the men of the family shipping off to England to war.
Oh, my dear Violet, we must do our duty.
And so must the women, my dear. Oh, and so must the women, my dear.
Mother, is it true? Are all the men in the family shipping off to the Great War? Will they be home in time for Christmas? Who will help me unwrap my Christmas presents?
Now, my child. When a country goes to war, it is important that every citizen do their part for the war effort. So no more selfish tears from you, young lady. We must sit about now to discover how we can best aid our dear boys facing this horrible monster stalking the fields of Europe. Oh, come along now. I think I have some old bed sheets we can use to fold bandages for the troops.
Bandages? Oh my God!
Neither wanton rowdyism or ruffianly conduct is discipline, nor does either become a soldier. Such actions find no place in the Canadian service. The donning of a soldier's uniform does not exempt any man from his bounded duties as a Republican citizen. On the contrary, being in uniform should be the guarantee of manly behavior. History records that ruffian rarely proves himself the bravest in the presence of the enemy. This war requires cool heads, firm minds, and controlled actions backed up with the best armament.
I see you waiting closer, I see you riding nuts, using the kind of language that makes the sergeant blush. Oh, wasn't join the army, that's what we all inquire. Don't we pity the poor civilian sitting around the fire? Oh, it's a lovely war, lovely war, you know, we feel just a pity of things, but we never get up to the top to bring the big results.
All right now, men, we're back on solid ground and ready to begin the next phase of our training. with men who've experienced the fighting firsthand. We'll train here in England until you receive your orders to ship off to France. I'm afraid I have some rather disappointing news. We won't be serving together as the 114th Battalion Holland Rifles. You'll be split up among a number of existing battalions. I've just received word that my own two sons, Drew and Walter, will be posted with the 4th Battalion, the Mad 4th.
Yes!
Of course, this means that I will no longer be your commanding officer.
Father!
In fact, I won't even be going to France. But I want you to always remember, wherever you are posted, we fight for England.
Yes!
We fight for Canada.
Yes!
We are
Ross
Rangers.
Hip hip! Hooray!
Hip hip!
Hooray!
Hip hip!
Hooray!
Forward march! And how will I keep my promise now to all those mothers to look out for their fine young sons?
The long way to Tipperary, it's a long way to go. It's a long way from Tipperary to the sweetest girl I know. Goodbye, Piccadilly, farewell, Bachelor Square. It's a long, long way from Tipperary.
Oh, Mother, we're finally here in England. And how fortunate that we had such a calm crossing. Do you think that Father will be angry because I dropped out of women's college to help with the war effort?
Peggy, darling, leave your father to me. There'll be plenty of work for us to do in London. Visiting the wounded, folding the bandages, helping keep the morale of the officers up. Now, our father will be stationed in Sandringham for some time, but he'll be able to visit us occasionally. As for the boys, we might not see them until their duty is up.
Oh, it's time to disembark. Oh, watch your step, Mother.
Oh, dear.
Here, give me your hand. That's it. Oh, it's so exciting, isn't it?
Oh, yes, and a little bit frightening, too.
It was quite a blow when we heard that our battalion had been broken up. Our crack unit had spent upward of a year in getting esprit de corps, was busted in less than 5 minutes. Now we are the Canadian Expeditionary Force, the CEF. After 6 months of training in England, Walter and I were beginning to think we'd missed the war altogether. But no such luck. As soon as we were shipped out to France, we were split up. I wonder if I'll run into my brother again over here.
Boy, training in Camp Gordon, training in England, and now in France, more training? Well, it was a bit embarrassing the first time we got near the front. We were marching by Fargus Wood. Survivor?
My God, sir, that last one was a close one. You'd better duck if we get another one like that.
that. Remember, it is the duty of every good soldier to keep his skin whole as long as possible. And that began my time in the trenches. It was around this time that I acquired my Batman, a farm lad called Mike. He was rather more like my personal butler and had volunteered to accompany me for the rest of my term at war.
At your service, sir? Well, I must say that we Canadians have made ourselves a fine reputation as brave and intelligent soldiers, sir. Well, make yourself at home in our wee section of the trench.
At home? With this smell?
You'll get used to it, sir. Or at least you convince yourself you are. It's just the rats. And the lice. And the rotting animal bodies. Remember, keep your gas mask handy so you can put it on quickly when the gas siren sounds. Well, and if you cannot find it, just urinate in your hanky and put it over your nose and mouth. Yeah, it's in the instruction. Yes. Oh, just don't get it into your head to stick your nose above the trench for a whiff of fresh air. 'Cause a sniper, Heine, will shoot it clean off before you've smelled your first daisy. Oh, and just change your socks if your feet get wet. It might smell bad here, but it's nothing compared to the stench of trench foot. Pee-wee. And take a nap whenever you can.
Soon they had Lieutenant Thompson picked to command his own platoon. Brigade headquarters wanted a smart young officer to lead 20 young men to be known as the Brigade Wires, to erect barbed wire entanglements in no man's land, to impale the curious Hun, and to protect our unit from attack. They told him, "Hang enough fritzes on the wire, and you might as well hang a medal on your chest." Says Lieutenant Thompson, "I'm on, sir. When do I start? And where do I go?" Just like that, he says. Just like that.
Myself and another platoon commander, a great young strapping giant from Western Canada named Johnston, learned the construction of the South African double apron fence with our men. Mike and I will demonstrate.
Iron stakes are screwed into the ground. It has to be done quietly. That's why we don't hammer them in. There are 2 men to a team. One carries the roll of wire which rolls off the spool. The other ties the wire to the stakes by a series of twists. During the day, we could run up hundreds of yards quite easily. At night, in the inky blackness, flopping for flares, fencing took a bit of doing.
Sir, you're commanding by yourself tonight. Johnston is off with trench fever, but his men have already headed out 10 minutes ago.
Just my luck. Going solo on my very first wire brigade mission. There's so much mud everywhere. How will we ever survive?
We'll slog through it. Just keep hold of those canvas gloves. They'll save your hands.
I'll make sure of that. Johnston's men! They've been hit!
right. They're all here. They've been here for 2 hours.
Oh, thank God.
Well, they got a proper dressing down from the CO for leaving their posts. Come on, sir. You deserve a hearty breakfast now.
I'm hungry after a long night.
What a beautiful flower arrangement.
Oh, we might as well bring a little bit of Ruthven garden to the soldiers in the hospital. I was so touched by all the dry herbs our loving housekeeper Betsy sent to us.
And the recipes for remedies that she collected from the Indians.
Oh, yes.
Oh, I do miss Ruthven so.
The grand river and the garden.
But our work here in the hospitals in London is so important. More wounded pour in every day, and they tell such horrible stories. Many of them were there when we captured Vimy Ridge. It was a very important victory for the Allies, but so many were killed. So many were wounded.
Peggy, remember, those soldiers don't just need their bodies healed, they need their spirits uplifted as well. Now, what do you think?
I think it will bring a smile to the face of some unfortunate soldier. I just hope that Drew and Walter are safe.
That's all we can hope for, darling. That's all.
Getting dark. Time for the wire brigade to move out again. We have to rebuild that fence that Jerry bombed last night. Johnston and his men, they headed out a few minutes ago. What's that you're making?
Oh, just a flower vase out of shell casing. For my sweetheart Rosie. It keeps me occupied during these long, boring days. You know this trench art? One day it'll fetch a pretty penny. You'll see.
Yeah, right. Oh my God! Thompson's entire unit has been hit! There are 2 survivors! What? Johnson's one of them! Quickly! Go get a stretcher carrier!
Yes, sir! Another night with no DOS. I'm completely chin-strapped. Sir.
Johnston. He didn't survive the night.
Sir, there are a number of letters here from your family. Why don't you answer them now?
My hands are too shaky from the fright of the shelling, and a letter written in shaky hand, it'll worry them so. No, we must never let our loved ones at home know what we are enduring here. I'll content myself with reading and rereading their letters, and leave the letter writing for a time when my nerves have hopefully calmed themselves down.
Oh, as you wish. Back home in Canada safely with only a minor injury. Now I have only one son in the war to worry about. Mother! Oh, Peggy, don't you look wonderful in the nurse's uniform?
Oh, never mind that, Mother. There's a letter here from Drew.
Oh, finally, what does the letter say?
Let me read it. His writing looks a bit crooked. He's in the field hospital.
Oh, he must have been wounded. Oh. Peggy, this is no time to be foolish. Now tell me what the letter says.
This is what he writes.
One night, the party is on a fence job and a runner is wounded when he doesn't duck. I run to get a stretcher and come across a German with his back to me. I raise my Colt. Put them up, damn you! I take a perfectly good prisoner, and the blighter's mean enough to be a dead one. I hurry on and drop into a trench. A rifle with bayonet leans against the parapet, and I run the steel deep into my hand. Ah! The next day, my hand is checked, and I am admitted to the Canadian Field Ambulance. I am accused of self-inflicting my wound, and only my vigorous protests convince them otherwise. I have my first real bed for months, freed of overcrowding by winged and crawling associates.
Oh, thank God he's safe.
By October, we were marching towards Passchendaele, considered one of the most horrific battles of the war because of the horrible conditions. 13,000 a month were killed at Passchendaele. Of course, our unit knew nothing of this. We had aspirations of winning this battle ourselves and being safely home by Christmas. Every chest swelled with high hopes and good spirits. Good old Fourth, the fighting Fourth.
We'll get more training in wipers, sir!
Wipers? Don't you mean Ypres?
Oh, that's it, Ypres!
Oh, be careful, don't step off the duck boards. You might drown in the mud. Did you know Canadians have invented them? I love them!
At one point, they decide they have too many officers. So they picked some to hang back. Myself and the other ones chosen to stay back hold a protest until finally we are allowed to come. Forward march!
No pastoral this, no sylvan glade, no handiwork of God, but just a man-made waste and desolation. A dozen battered tanks in this lost world, like prehistoric dinosaurs, lay mired in the mud. A charred and fallen airplane, a pterodactyl, 1,000 little lakes and craters, a sea of mud, full of grotesque, silent figures.
Looks to me like a modern version of Paradise Lost.
Well, it ain't exactly paradise found, is it? At twilight, Lieutenant Thompson takes his place at the head of the file marching forward. 13 platoon trudges on and finds death waiting.
I've been hit! Oh, I can't move!
son?
He arrived last night. He was hit in 5 places.
Oh,
And for 10 days his life hung in the balance, as the report from the field hospital says. Now, and then they brought him here to our hospital in London because we specialize in spinal injuries. Now be thankful he's here and still alive. For 17 out of 30 were lost that night. He survived, but he may be paralyzed for life.
see him then, lying there through long sleepless nights, through days fraught with despair. 6 feet of uselessness, helpless and hopeless, until the arrival of his mother brings inspiration to live. See his first ride through the parks in a spine carriage, his first attempt at a walking machine, his first walk on dwindled legs.
Oh, Drew, look at you! Oh, look at you, Drew, getting stronger and stronger and getting your legs working again. Oh.
How lucky we are that my 2 brothers have survived. Walter is now back in Canada, and he's got himself married. And now you are well on your way to a full recovery.
Well, dear mother and sister, yes, it's true. The damage won't be as severe as they first thought, but the doctors say I still have a long, long road to recovery.
Of course.
Oh, and I'll never beat that Tom Longboat in a race now, will I?
Oh, Drew! Now that's our old Drew! That's our old Drew! Good to see that.
Now, ladies, I must ask you to give me some privacy, for there's a certain young nurse due to arrive here any moment, and I need my rest, for I have a rather important question to ask of her.
Well, who is the nurse, and what do you have to ask her?
Oh, Mother, why must you always know everything?
I
Can't we have
was-
any privacy at all? I'm sure
I
that
was
Drew will
being
tell us all in good time.
diplomatic.
You know, you're a
Come on,
little
let us
bit
know
nosy.
that.
You know that. You know.
Well, look at that. You know what he's up to. He's going to ask Lydia to marry him. And sure you saw that coming. And you know, it's a true story too. And she'll say yes. And they'll be happily married for many years. And Drew will walk. With a limp, but he'll walk. They won't have any children, though. No. Keeping the family line going falls to me, and I carry out my duties admirably, if I do say so myself. 2 sons. 2 days after Drew was wounded, Canadians finally took Passchendaele. It was the end of a very long battle, and not without a price. Mike was hit by shell that night, and in an instant, he was gone. Yes. But our old friend Joseph,
made it safely home. He raised a large, boisterous family, and yeah, he made quite a name for himself in the war as the legendary patience of Indians makes them excellent snipers. Yes. Well, I wasn't wounded as badly as Drew was physically. No scars that doctors could see during a checkup, but I carried my deep wounds inside my soul. Memories of those awful days and nights in the trenches of France. Memories that haunt me, that haunt all of us who were there. Memories that we hold tight in our hearts and not ever burden others with.
Canadian losses in World War I, 67,000. British losses, 703,000. Total military casualties for World War I estimated between 8 and 10 million. Another 7 million civilian casualties. Over 20 million military wounded. Countless animals also killed and wounded. Every year, on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month, we remember and honor all of the men and women who have served this country in uniform.
Drew, you walk! You walk!
Lydia, look what your loving, tender care has done for me. I could walk. Lydia? Lydia, will you marry me? One day you'll return with me to the most beautiful place in the whole world.
Ruthven. Ruthven. Yes! Yes, I will!
From Ruthven to Passchendaele and back home again, here we may leave Drew and 100,000 others, hobbling through life, broken and maimed. Here we may leave them with heads held high and courage undimmed. Glad to have fought, glad to have served, never counting the cost. A great fraternity to which it is a privilege to belong.
Granny, what did Daddy do in the war?
Oh, we'll never tell them. some beautiful flowers grow in life's garden fair. I've spent some wonderful hours lost in their fragrance rare. But I have found another, hundreds beyond compare. There's a rose that grows in no man's land, and it's wonderful to see. Though it's sprayed with tears, it will live for years in my garden of memory. It's the one red rose the soldier knows. It's the work of the master's hand. Mid the war's great curse stands the Red Cross nurse. She's the rose